All right, hi everyone. This is Harish Tiwari, and we are here to present you with the current affairs session. Basically, the topic that we are going to discuss today is important summits and conferences, which are very, very important for the general test in CUET. All right. So, what is the format of this session? That first of all will cover some important summits and conferences between the year 2021 and 2022, covering the premise of last 6 to 8 months. And then at the end of the session, what we'll do that we are going to solve certain important MCQs, 4 to 5 general MCQs, which are very, very important for our test. All right. So let's begin with the session itself. So the first important summit and conference that we are going to look at is BIMSTEC. Now, why I'm beginning from this particular summit? Because this organization probably, this intergovernmental organization probably is the most important intergovernmental organization as far as year 2022 is concerned. Why? Because as far as our foreign policy is concerned, India has a huge importance as far as our neighborhood is concerned. All right. Now, the story is like this that one must know about is way back in the year 2016. All right. Okay. So way back in the year 2016, we know as far as our neighborhood is concerned, South Asia, India is a country which we identify geographically in South Asia. So we have this organization called as SAARC, the South Asian Association for Regional Cooperation. All right. So in 2016, we had this SAARC summit scheduled at Islamabad, Pakistan. At Islamabad, Pakistan. Just before this summit could happen, the Uri and Pathankot terrorist attacks were inflicted on India. So what happened that the government of India and our Ministry of External Affairs specifically, we boycotted this summit, and then we launched a campaign of isolating Pakistan from the global affairs and most importantly beginning from our neighborhood itself. So we wanted to seek a platform, an alternative platform of SAARC through which India could then push its neighborhood first policy. All right. Now, that alternative of SAARC we found in BIMSTEC. So what we did in that particular year in Goa, India conducted the first joint meeting, the first joint summit of BIMSTEC plus BRICS. First BIMSTEC plus BRICS summit in the year 2016. Now, what was the idea? The idea was to give a direct message to our neighbor countries that they should follow India, or they should keep a pro-Indian stance when it comes to the neighborhood. All right, and they should keep or maintain a safe distance from Pakistan. All right. So that was a master stroke as per India's foreign policy is concerned. So that is the importance of this region. SAARC, as per our foreign policy, has now become a liability on India. But now BIMSTEC, we are pushing at least since the year 2016. So that is a basic introduction of this particular organization. Now, moving ahead, when was this organization established? So it was established on 6th of June 1997, guys, and it is outcome of Bangkok Declaration. All right. So do remember the establishment year is 1997, and it is an outcome of Bangkok Declaration. All right. Moving ahead, what is the significance of this organization? Well, the countries of BIMSTEC, they collectively represent 21.7% of the world's population. Also, when we refer to the combined GDP or the national income of these countries, it is close to $3.8 trillion of economy. Then BIMSTEC has emerged. That's why it is said that BIMSTEC has emerged as an influential engine of economic growth. Now, where is it headquartered? Where are its secretariats? So it is headquartered at Dhaka. Now, what is the full form of BIMSTEC? it stands for Bay of Bengal Initiative for Multi-Sectoral Technical and Economic Cooperation. Now guys, about the full form of this organization, please pay attention on this term, that is technical. It's not trade and economic, rather it is technical and economic cooperation agreement. Now, this particular organization is important this year. First, because it is the alternative of SAARC for India. Second, because this particular organization is celebrating its 25 years of establishment in the year 2022. Then reason number 3 why it is important this year, because at its fifth summit, which was scheduled at Colombo, Sri Lanka, a country which is by the way facing an absolute economic crisis, and then a situation of political destabilization is there in Sri Lanka. Also, we know that most of India's trade, or rather very specifically speaking, most of our sea trade is directly dependent on the Indian Ocean region, and there we have two island countries which are very, very strategically placed in the region of Indian Ocean. And these two countries, one is Sri Lanka and second is Maldives. All right. That's why Maldives and Sri Lanka basically become a kind of battlefield for the Cold War between two giant economies. On one side it is China, and on the other side it is India. All right. So what has happened that this particular summit, at this particular fifth summit of BIMSTEC, Colombo, Sri Lanka, on 30th of March 2022, this organization signed its charter. What is a charter? Charter is a legal framework of any intergovernmental organization through which its resolutions are taken up, its decision making becomes obligatory. So what else they have decided in this particular summit? Let's have a close look. So first of all, these countries, they have signed multiple agreements at this particular summit. All right. So which kind of agreements they have signed? Let's have a close look. Okay, so first of all, they have signed a framework for regional and domestic connectivity. Number 2 is that they have signed a treaty on mutual legal assistance on criminal matters. All right, mutual legal assistance on the criminal matters. Then after that, a memorandum of understanding or association on the establishment of BIMSTEC Technology Transfer Facility. BIMSTEC Technology Transfer Facility in Colombo, Sri Lanka. Also, please do remember this fact. India will provide BIMSTEC Secretariat $1 million to increase its operational budget. And it is a huge amount that India is going to contribute towards the effective implementation of the charter of BIMSTEC. All right. Now moving ahead, what else we must remember about this particular summit and organization is about its members, which is very, very easy to remember just by looking at the name of this organization. So see, in this you could remember that B stands for Bangladesh, I से आप इंडिया याद रख सकते हो. Then from M we can remember Myanmar. Then from S we can remember Sri Lanka. Then from T we can remember Thailand. All right. So Bangladesh, India, Myanmar, Sri Lanka, Thailand, and we have to add 2 more countries to this. One is Nepal and the another one is Bhutan. All right. So how many members are there in this particular group? So we have 5 plus 2, that is 7 members are there, member states are there in this particular platform. All right. So this was about this summit. Next, what we must remember about this summit is an expected question from our foreign policy and something of a concept called as Gujarat Doctrine. Very important. Please do remember this particular doctrine. This is called as Gujarat Doctrine. Okay. Now, what is Gujarat Doctrine? One could remember our former Prime Minister Inder Kumar Gujral or IK Gujral. So it was his idea of 5 principles to be implemented in India's foreign policy when it comes to our neighborhood. So what are these 5 principles? Number 1 is that with the neighbors like Bangladesh, Bhutan, Maldives, Nepal and Sri Lanka, India does not ask for reciprocity, but it gives and accommodates what it can in good faith and trust. All right. This is the first principle. That is the idea of non-reciprocity. Second is that no South Asian country should allow its territory to be used against the interest of another country of the region. All right. So there has to be a mutual respect for each other's territorial integrity and sovereignty. Also, there should be a policy of non-interference in the internal affairs of one another. All right. And then the fifth one is that for this particular platform or bilateral relationships, you can say in the context of bilateral relationship within the neighborhood, if there is at all any dispute, that dispute should always be settled through peaceful negotiations, where conflict and war should be avoided and it should be a part of last resort. All right. So these 5 principles are collectively called as Gujarat Doctrine. Now, why one should know about this? Because of the disruption in Sri Lanka, because India's you can say border dispute with Nepal when it comes to Susta region, where river Narayani and river Gandak is a bone of contention. Then we have the Kalapani territory dispute with Nepal itself. All right. And the Nepal government, you can say, it asked the government of India recently that these border disputes should be resolved as soon as possible through a peaceful negotiation. Then why else we should remember about Gujarat Doctrine? Because we know that in just our neighborhood, in Myanmar, there is a political destabilization where a military coup happened, and the armed force, or the so-called Tatmadaw, which is the name of their armed forces, now they are ruling over that country. So there was a disruption in the democracy first, and then the second issue we have in Thailand, where anti-government protests are on. All right. So in this neighborhood of India, there is a kind of disruption in this particular region, and that's why in our exam one could ask about they can ask us about the Gujarat Doctrine. All right. So please do have a brief idea of these 5 principles. All right.